I welcome you to this session of ISO 9001 2015, and today we are going to talk about clause number 8, operation, and under this subclause 8.1 shall be discussed today, which is operational planning and control. So as usual, first of all, I'll read out the requirement to you as given in the standard. Clause 8, operation. Under this subclause 8.1, operational planning and control. The organization shall plan, implement and control the processes needed to meet the requirements for the provision of products and services and to implement the actions determined in clause 6 by ABC. There are 3 points in this. No, A, B, C, D, E. So 5 points in this. The organization shall plan, implement and control the processes needed to meet the requirements for the provision of products and services and to implement the actions determined in clause 6 by A. Determining the requirements for the products and services. This is A. B. Establishing criteria for number 1 and 2. 1. Processes. Number 2. The acceptance of products and services. And C. Determining the resources needed to achieve conformity to the products and service requirements. And D. Implementing control of the processes in accordance with the criteria. E. Determining, maintaining and retaining documented information to the extent necessary. Number 1. To have confidence that the processes have been carried out as required, as planned. Number 2. To demonstrate the conformity of products and services to their requirements. The output of this planning shall be suitable for the organization's operations. The organization shall control planned changes and review the consequences of unintended changes, taking action to mitigate any adverse effects as necessary. The organization shall ensure that the outsourced processes are controlled. See 8.4. So this is all. This is a little longer clause, and now let us discuss it in more detail. So as the topic says, the clause is regarding the operation, that means the working of the organization. 8.1, operational planning and control. So we are now talking about the planning and control, which is part of the operation. The company or the organization will have to plan, implement and control the processes needed to meet the requirements for the provision of products. So whatever processes are needed for providing the products or the service and to implement actions determined in clause 6, for doing all this by A. Determining the requirements of the products and services. So this is the foremost thing. First of all, we have to determine the requirements of products and services, which will include the customer requirements, the organization's requirements, the requirements of this international standard, the requirements of the regulatory authorities, and any other requirement. So first of all, we have to determine the requirements for the products and services, and B. Establish criteria for the processes, and number 2, acceptance of products and services. So we have to ensure that we are following the methodology or the method for the process to produce products and services, So establishing criteria. What is the criteria for the processes and the acceptance of the products and services? So finally, when the product is ready or the service is being rendered, what is the acceptance criteria as given by the customer or as decided by the organization or as needed by the international standard or regulatory authorities or anybody else who is part of this whole thing. So, we have to establish the criteria for the processes and the acceptance of products and services. So, the criteria has to be in black and white, and possibly it has to be part of the procedure that we are going to write for production of the products or provision of the service to the customer. So this is with regard to establishing the criteria. I hope it is clear that we have to determine in what manner we are going to produce the product or provide the service. So what are the processes we need and how we are going to accept the products and services. What conditions are necessary, what things are necessary so that we can say that the product is meeting the acceptance requirement of customers, regulatory authorities, the organization, the international standard, and every other need that is necessary for it to satisfy. So same thing goes for the products and services both. Now C, determining the resources needed to achieve conformity to the products and services requirements. So we have to determine what resources are needed, what equipment, what technology, what kind of manpower, what training they should have, what criteria of education, training, skill, etc. is required for the people who are going to work for producing these products and providing the service. So we have to determine the resources needed to achieve the conformity of products and service requirements. So it includes everything. The resources needed to achieve conformity to the products and service requirements will include everything: the processes, the material, the manpower, the methodology, and anything else, the inspection methods, the packaging, etc., which has to be done subsequently, and how we are going to handle the products during those processes. So everything has to be determined, and we have to decide what resources are necessary to achieve conformity to the products and service requirements. So the product and the service should be meeting the requirement fully and completely. And for doing so, we have to be very clear what resources shall be needed to achieve that conformity and provide those resources. It can be external resource or it can be internal resource or whatever resource is necessary, we have to provide. Now we come to D, implementing control of the processes in accordance with the criteria. So whatever criteria we have fixed, we have to ensure that we are exercising control of the processes so that the end product or the end service that is going to the customer is meeting the requirement of the customer fully and totally. So we have to implement control of the processes in accordance with the criteria laid down by us, what criteria we have determined, or what methodology we are going to follow, what procedure we are going to follow, what material we are going to use, what inspection methods we are going to deploy, and anything that is necessary for producing the products and services. So we have to implement the controls of the processes in accordance with the criteria. Now let us go to E, determining, maintaining and retaining documented information to the extent necessary. All that we do, the procedure that we decide, the materials that we decide, the design aspect and everything has got to be properly recorded. So this has got to be done. Determining, maintaining and retaining documented. So we have to determine and we have to maintain and retain the records. Documented information here means records, and records of all kinds, records of processes, records of products, records of how the product was manufactured, what processes were involved, who were the people, what kind of inspections were carried out, the inspection results, and everything. So we have to maintain the entire records for the products and services during the manufacturing or the provision of the service to the customer. And in this, number one is to have confidence. Why we have to maintain the record? To have confidence that the processes have been carried out as planned. So the records will ensure and say that yes, this is how we had gone about it, and we have the records available to verify that. So we can have confidence on what we have done with the product and the service. And number two, to demonstrate the conformity of products and service to their requirements, that the service or the products that we are providing to the customer, they are meeting all the requirements of the products and services that was discussed and finalized and agreed to. So whatever product and service requirements are there, they are meeting the requirements. That means the product and the service is conforming to the requirements as discussed and as recorded by us. So this is how we have to ensure by maintaining the records. The output of this planning shall be suitable to the organization's operations. So whatever operations we have in place, the output of whatever we are planning, the operational planning and control we are carrying out. So the output of this operational planning and control shall be suitable for the organization's operations. That means we should be having the technology and the machine tools and the manpower and what all is needed for providing the products and services. So that is how we have to ensure conformity of this requirement, to demonstrate the conformity of products and service to their requirements. The output of this planning shall be suitable for the organization's operations. So whatever planning we are doing, we have to make sure that it is suitable for the organization's operations. That means we have the technology in place, we have the people who are fully qualified, and they are skilled, and whatever materials are required, they are available, and all that is necessary, all the instructions and materials and inspection methods, inspection plans, everything is available. So we can say that output of this planning shall be suitable for the organization's operations. And the organization shall control planned changes and review the consequences of unintended changes taking place to mitigate any adverse effect as necessary. In case the organization has noticed any changes and in the product or service or the process or whatever is the thing that we are doing, we have to ensure and review the consequences of these unintended changes. So the changes which were not thought of by us but have taken place, we have to review the entire situation and ensure that the organization shall control the planned changes and review the consequences of unintended changes. So in both the cases, the planned changes and the unintended changes that have gone into the operations, we have to control both and taking action to mitigate any adverse effect as necessary. If the changes have affected the product or the service in any manner, we have to ensure that it is still meeting the requirement of the customer. So meeting the requirement is the topmost thing, and we have to ensure that product and the service is meeting the requirements of the customer, requirement of the organization, requirement of the regulatory authorities, and the total requirement, design requirements, everything. Okay, and last sentence in this says, the organization shall ensure that the outsourced processes are also controlled. There can be situations where we are not having the capability or material or any kind of thing that is needed for producing the product or the service, and we are taking the help of outside providers. So the organization has to ensure the outside processes are also fully controlled. That means they know what is required to be done with the product or the service, how the product and the service have to be produced, and what is the requirement of the customer, requirement of the regulatory authorities, and the total requirements. The organization has to ensure that outsourced processes are also controlled. So we will ensure that outsourced processes are also meeting the total requirements as far as all the things are concerned in producing the product and the services. The methodology of production, the materials used, the inspection plans, the inspection methods used, the technology that is necessary, and the capability of the people who are working on these processes. Everything has to be taken into consideration, and the organization has to ensure that the outsourced processes, if any, which are involved in producing these products and services, are also meeting all the requirements. So that's all with regard to the operational planning and control, and I hope this is slightly longer clause, and I hope you have understood the total requirement fully and completely. But by chance, if there is anything which is not clear to you, please give your comment below this video, and I'll try to explain to you once again, so that nothing is unclear to you and the entire requirement is absolutely clear to everybody. And if you are liking my videos, please give me a thumbs up, give me a like, and also share my videos with your friends and colleagues, so that the advantage of the knowledge that is flowing from between us, they can also take advantage of that and implement the ISO requirement fully and completely at the place where they are working. And please do not forget to subscribe to my channel, and also press the bell icon, so that as and when I load this video, the information will reach you without any delay, and you will be able to see my videos without any delay. Okay, thank you very much, and we meet again next Sunday, and we will be discussing the clause 8.2, which is requirement for products and services. So see you till next Sunday. Bye bye.